And I was just living this double life and constantly navigating where to put the appointments that I was making in my head. And I would go into church, I would ignore God for the 2 hours, but worship God at the same time. And then in 1999, I met someone, my first sort of long-time partner, and had to hide him from the church the whole time for about a year. And I went to get an HIV test and it came back positive. And I remember coming out of the sexual health clinic in Parramatta and looking up, I didn't swear back then. I looked up to God or Jehovah God and I said, really? Like, didn't you give me enough of a cocktail? I'll never do that again. That's my rock bottom. To treat my audience with disrespect and unkindness, that's rock bottom for me. Who is ever going to come and see this? And for me to do that to them, that I saw myself, I was standing outside of myself in that moment going, what have you done? This is the worst. So very quickly I learned that 2 things: put your hand up, say yes, give it a go. No one's really going to slaughter you. And network. There are opportunities here I can't get in a big city.
Welcome to Yarramah Territory. Here we provide professional horse riding lessons for beginners right up to advanced riders. People love finding that deeper connection with horses. We're proud that our services offer a positive mental well-being, and it's just a great place to come, de-stress and relax.
Shalom Kaa, thanks for joining us on the NextGen North podcast.
Thank you. This is Swish.
You're best probably known around Darwin for your exploits as an entertainer, comedian, singer, dancer, the whole nine, as well as emceeing at private events. But I've heard you self-describe as an Asian-looking Māori with a Jewish name. Is that sort of around the mark? Am I remembering that correctly?
Firstly, your pronunciation of Māori is perfect.
I'm trying to be...
That's the sexiest thing in the planet, was someone to pronounce Māori.
Oh, you're going to make me blush, mate.
And I'll tell you why later. But yeah, no, that's sort of half of me,
Yep.
half of the life that I've led.
Right.
We'll find out more things later. But yes.
Well, look, there's a lot to unpack there. Maybe let's just start with the Māori aspect. You obviously, got Kiwi roots. Did you immigrate to Australia, or were you born in the land of Oz? What are your origins?
The lucky thing is we don't have to immigrate from New Zealand. We just get on a plane and come here.
Oh, right, of course.
So I just jumped on a plane at the age of 22. I was working in hospitality, and everybody in hospitality travels, and I'd never left the country. I came here on a holiday on the 30th of November 1997, and I've been here ever since.
And how did you find it? Like, were there some major culture shocks, or was it pretty sort of similar going?
I didn't know how multicultural Sydney was. I moved to Sydney first.
Okay.
I thought it was home and away. That's what I thought I was coming to. I didn't realize 2 hours north is Palm Beach. Summer Bay. And I went there one day. I was like, boring.
Yeah.
So I didn't know the amount of cultures that lived there. I lived in an Italian section of Sydney called Penshurst, and everything at the shopping centre was in Italian. And I remember going to my aunt who I lived with and said, "Auntie, what is a pharmacia?" Which is a chemist.
Right, yeah.
And that's the first time I'd been exposed to that much culture. But it was like Hollywood to me.
Yep.
I'd come from Christchurch, rural New Zealand, and anything that I saw on television was Hollywood. And I'd seen all of this, the Sydney Harbour Bridge, the tunnel, Circular Quay, all of it on television. So it was like, and then the noise that the traffic lights make.
Yep.
Can you calm down? It's just traffic lights.
Yeah.
It was like Hollywood.
But so did you find that you could maybe blend in with the Italian people because of, sort of maybe the Mediterranean caramel skin, or like how did you find that?
God, no.
Right.
And not because of skin color. It was more about, I didn't know anything about Italian people. Yep. Pasta was a can of spaghetti, or what is can of spaghetti? So I didn't know any of that, and I didn't know what WOG people were, as the term goes. I'd never met Lebanese people in my life, and that's Western Sydney, where I moved to Parramatta, and they became really ingratiated in their culture because I sang at Lebanese weddings, and had to learn a bit of Arabic and that sort of not much.
Wow.
And kibiner, or the food. That's just the food. We just learned the food, but it was nice understanding that Sydney particularly and Melbourne were just these multicultural centres, and exposed me to a world I'd never experienced. I'd met one Greek person in my life. The rest were white in my country. Oh, and Pacific Islander. It was the only cultures that I'd known.
So did your upbringing prepare you for that in any way? Like, tell us about your parents. And, you sort of, did you have a traditional upbringing?
Nah.
Okay. I think we've got a picture there of your folks. Maybe tell us a little bit about them.
Well, mum and dad were actually, those are my grandparents.
Oh, it's your grandparents.
Yeah, that's my grandfather. He would have been maybe his late 20s then. He's a very distinguished man, and not in wealth, but in the way he always dressed like that. Always tweed jacket, tweed pants. That was his wife, Charlotte, or Harete in our language. She passed away when my dad was 1, so that's 1956. He passed away. He remarried. And he had 2 children to her. They adopted my older uncle, who was my dad's cousin, and because they thought they couldn't have kids. Then she died of, on paper, and I won't go into this, but on paper she died of consumption, which is tuberculosis.
Right.
There's a whole nother story with that. His father was married twice. His father's wife was killed. No, his father was killed in a horse and cart accident when lightning struck.
Wow. And
he pushed his second wife out of the cart, and he went over the cliff with the lightning strike as they were going home.
Did it startle the horses or something?
Yeah, and they spooked.
Right.
And so wonderful stories. But my grandfather died in 2012 here in Australia, and he was 92. He was a tough man, tough shearer, tough man. Went to World War II, prisoner of war for 2 years. Learned German while he was there.
So a prisoner with the Germans as opposed to the Japanese, is that?
Correct.
So where was he fighting?
So they got stationed in Egypt and then went over to Italy, got captured in Italy.
So he was like the Rats of Tobruk and all that sort of in Northern Africa. Is that right?
I think.
Okay.
I was a conscientious objector growing up.
Right.
Because we were Jehovah's Witnesses.
Okay.
So I didn't really ask about the war a lot. I know some stuff. And my great uncle was also a captain at 23 in World War I.
Wow.
And died at 23 in the Battle of Passchendaele. So I had, by the time my grandfather never spoke of the war. He spoke very, I think he covered over what really happened, where he was. But he just describes the 2 years being in that camp as they played cards with the soldiers. They were just there doing their job. They got out. The Americans saved them. He went to England. Was going to become a citizen in England, but his grandmother was passing away, so he got on the ship for 3 or 4 weeks, or wherever long it was, to get back to New Zealand, and she passed during that period of time.
How did he mention anything about maybe the way the Germans treated the Australian and New Zealand captives? Because I've heard, particularly Rommel, he was an officer, like a high officer. I don't know what his rank was in the north of Africa, German, and he had the utmost respect for Australian and New Zealand soldiers. Yeah. And I don't know if that translated into how maybe the prisoners of war were treated. Did you ever recollect any? He
didn't. What he did tell me was in the prisoner of war camp, he really, how I said it before, they were, he just sort of described as the wardens had their job. They were there for 2 years. They ate. They didn't eat. Some hard times, they got out.
Right.
But what he did intimate, not really succinctly, but his Māori battalion was sent in as scapegoats, which is why they got captured.
Right.
Send the brown ones in first.
Okay.
Doesn't matter if they're collateral damage. We'll send those ones in first, which meant that they did get captured. So now that's the story I'm told by him. How valid that is or how truthful, I don't know, but that was his recollection.
Well, it sounds to me like they probably got treated a lot better than the POWs by the Japanese. I think that was a very different thing.
Sure, and at least in New Zealand, Māoris could enlist and go to war.
Right.
In Australia, in World War I, Indigenous people here could not. So our stories are very different.
Yeah, and I think in World War I think perhaps the Australian and the Canadians got treated a little bit the same by the British in terms of send them first to be the cannon fodder up against the Turks.
The Canadians are too nice anyway.
Yeah. So look, you're a natural performer, right? You seem to have an ability to hold people's attention, whether it be with your comedy, your singing, your dancing, whatever the case may be. Was that natural, or was it something that you had to hone and develop over the years?
It wasn't, I mean, I don't think you're born a performer. I think you are born into whatever environment you're born into. My dad always used to say, though, you certainly have things that you can do because of your physicality. Like if you're Amazonian pygmy, you're probably not going to run a marathon. But I was born into a musical family. Dad was a singer. Mum was a performer.
Right.
Mum was also a world champion darts player. When she was 16 and 17, she had the world title. I never embellished that as much as I should. I should have like gone and got more toys.
Australian pubs and stuff, I think that would go down.
That's where she won.
Oh,
in
right.
Australian,
Yeah.
here
There you go.
in Sydney.
Oh, amazing.
When she was 16. Then she had a child the year after, and it was all over. But I was born into that family, and there was, I think I got on stage when we were audience stage at 2, because Mum couldn't afford a babysitter. She was 22 when I was 2 years. So I was born on her 20th birthday. We had the same birthday, and she didn't want to either waste money on a babysitter or couldn't afford one, and cut a sponge rubber mattress big enough for two babies to sit behind the speaker, and that's how I remember starting life.
So there were kind of some organic pathways for you to
let's call it organic.
Yeah.
A beautiful circumstance.
Yeah.
I don't think I had any other choice but to become a performer.
So what were you doing at 2 years old?
Well, sleeping.
Oh, right, on stage.
Yeah, but then at 3 and 4 we're singing.
Right.
And at 5, I remember singing at the pub with Mum and Dad. Because it was the 80s. And then we sang every day as a family. Yeah. Every single day.
Is that a cultural thing in?
Yeah. Not modern necessarily, but in Māori culture, religion, music, work, play.
In that order?
They're not distinguished as single things. They're all part of life.
Right.
So music's just part of life. And religion is part of life, because you pray to the god of the sea for a good harvest. You pray for the god of fire for warmth and for cooking abilities. You pray for the god of the Papatūānuku. You play to all those gods. So religion isn't separate from life. It is life. So is music.
Right. Because in my sort of very, let's say, just surface level understanding of Māori culture, I've watched.
I said it again.
Once Were Warriors, which I think is, and I've read the books.
You've read the book?
Yeah.
Wow.
The book is very different to the movie.
Yes.
I mean, you probably know.
I've never read the book.
Oh, there you go.
I don't read.
I listen to the audio books. I can't sort of, anyway. But I just found it so brilliant the way that they captured, as harrowing as that story was, the way they captured. I think it's Jake Heke.
Yeah.
His
where are you learning Māori?
I've worked with a lot of Māori people as well, like in Canada and stuff. Like, and they gave me a sort of lot of.
That's not what I thought you were going to say. You worked with them in Canada. What, on a ski field?
A lot of Aussies and Kiwis in Canada. Okay. On a ski lift. Exactly right. But I just found it brilliant the way that they could capture how charismatic he was, and he just loved strumming on the guitar, and he was sort of the same as you. Like, he could capture an audience, but then he had like this kind of scary masculine side to him, and it was amazing how he was like the anti-hero in some sense, because you found yourself drawn to him, but he had a lot of negative aspects, but a lot of amazing strong masculinity that I think maybe young men are sort of drawn to, particularly these days. I'm not really sure where I was going with that, but
all good villains. It's the key to a good film. All good villains are people we want to like.
Right.
We have to love them for us to go through that journey, even if they're nasty. We won't stick. If we really just hate them for the whole film, you're good, we're done. The end of the film.
Yep.
He's lovable because we're raised to be lovable, but we're raised in trauma in our Māori culture in our modern times.
Yeah. So did you feel some sense of sadness, obviously leaving that when you came to Australia? What were those feelings like? Or was it, liberation or?
My liberation was sexual liberation. I had been raised a Jehovah's Witness, was baptized at the age of 13 as a minister.
Okay.
And Jehovah's Witnesses are an everyday, every second of the day religion. It's not something you do on Sundays.
Right.
You go door knocking every weekend, if not more. You go to church 5 times a week. You read the Bible every day. It's extremely intellectual. You must study. You must study science. You must study evolution. To be able to proselytize and to discuss the Bible with people who oppose your view or just have a different view. It's helpful to understand. Right. So I loved the religion based on that. So, but knowing that I was probably this word called gay back in the 80s, then that was something I had to just negotiate in my head, or maybe 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
For a long, long time. And then when I was pretending like I'd never been to a gay bar, and I knew that I was inherently gay. I kept discussing with God, how can I change this?
Sure.
I moved to Sydney as on holiday, but as soon as I got off the plane, I was like, I'm in Sydney.
Right.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there was a sexual awakening there about how do these other people live freely as gay people in this city? Like I was, how do I make that work?
Yeah.
In 1997.
So you were practicing Jehovah's Witness still?
No, you can't.
You can't.
Well,
so that kind of came to crossroads for you then between religion and sexuality. Is that sort of how that played out?
4 years later.
Okay.
I was still going to church. During that period of time, in 1999, I was having sex with men.
Yep.
And I even had a girlfriend in the church. We can't have sex with women. I can't have sex before marriage, so that was great.
Sure.
Didn't have to do that.
Okay.
Lovely girl, Robin. Lovely. I love her. And I was just living this double life and constantly navigating where to put the appointments that I was making in my head. And I would go into church, I would ignore God for the 2 hours, but worship God at the same time. And then I would go to sex on premises venues or a nightclub or whatever, or a park, and try and figure that clandestine life out. And it was fun, but also horrible at the same time. And then 1999, I met someone, or 98, 99, I met my first sort of long-time partner and had to hide him from the church the whole time for about a year and a half. And during that period of time, I went to get an HIV test and it came back positive in 1999.
Yeah.
So that, amongst all the Asian-looking married with a Jewish name, Jehovah's Witness, parents and musicians, I now have HIV.
Yeah.
And I remember coming out of the sexual health clinic in Parramatta going and looking up. I didn't swear back then. I looked up to God or Jehovah God and I said, really? Like, didn't you give me enough of a cocktail? And then I put my head down and I just kept going and just living this life.
Right. Well, look, I remember from, my upbringing in the 90s predominantly, my formative years, and, particularly the early 90s, HIV was probably considered still a
death sentence.
A death sentence.
Yes.
How was it in 98, 99? Was that
a death sentence?
It still was?
Yes.
How do you process that? Like,
you ignore it.
Okay.
I remember going and telling the partner who was hiding, and he smoked 2 packs of cigarettes in like a couple of hours. His name's Mark, lovely man. We didn't separate. We went to the Olympics that year in 2000, and we survived that. And not long after that, we did separate. But because I also thought that after all the cocktail and having the little cherry on the top of HIV, I thought, if we were to separate, when we did separate eventually, who would love me now? Because nobody can love this cocktail, because that's just not normal, all of that. And so it was pretty devastating. And when I was with Mark, it seemed all right. Well, I can navigate this and it won't matter because I've got someone that validates me.
Sure.
As soon as we're separated, I went into this year-long depression of crying on the train to work. And it was pretty horrible.
Well, did you find that your own, I guess, impressions matched your reality? Like, did you find someone that understood thereafter, or was that like a lengthy process to find? Have you found someone, what did that look like to you?
Nice segue, by the way. I ended up moving to Melbourne. I really needed to get out of Sydney and be with family, and I hadn't told them yet. And I was 27 when I moved to Melbourne. It was 2001, end of 2001. And I moved to Melbourne to start a band with my brother. My dad was getting quite ill a lot, and he had a band with my mum, and they were doing very well. And I commuted for about a month from Sydney each weekend just to cover my dad's gigs, stand in for him, do all his songs. I mean, we grew up singing those songs, so it was easy. Just go and sing Engelbert Humperdinck, Elvis Presley, easy. Right. And then my brother said, move down here. And so I did. And got down there and I just got stuck into the band. I found a job and had some sex. And then I met someone named Paul in 2003 who in this time in my psyche, that I have got all this cocktail, no one's going to love me. So just have one-night stands and you'll know that they'll wake up tomorrow and they'll go. There's no sense of any long-term thing here because you're not lovable. And then we did swap numbers. I met him at his house the week after on April the 12th, 2003. I don't remember that.
Wow.
And a week after we met, that's how I used to work out our anniversary, go back 7 days. And we were together for 17 and a half years. You're not meant to meet your long-term partner at Footscray Park at 3 o'clock in the morning, but that's where I met him.
Love comes in, mysterious ways. Like I've met my wife at Monsoon.
Where?
So.
Okay. Oh, well, you win.
Yeah, I think so. I think
in the back of the front. Anyway. So I didn't tell him I had HIV until 6 weeks after we met.
Okay.
We had protected sex, and I just in my head he was going to leave.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was going to leave.
Yep.
And he didn't. He kept coming back. He'd come to my gigs, Moonee Valley Tabernacle. Kept coming to my parents' gigs at Footscray, and I'm like, can you just go so I can move on to the next one night stand? Mm-hmm. And then he kept coming. I'm like, I'm going to have to tell him because he doesn't want to go. And so I told him. Mm-hmm. And I remember telling him, I said, I have to tell him tonight. It was after my mum and dad's gig at Footscray, and got in the car in his Festiva, and I said, I have to tell you something. I said, I've got HIV. And he went really silent. And at this moment, I imagined him, putting on the thruster of the DeLorean, and shooting back to the future. Yeah. And he realized that I'd clocked the silent moment. And he said, I'm not angry at you. I'm not upset at you having HIV. Mm-hmm. I'm upset that you didn't feel safe enough to tell me.
There was a trust. He felt like his trust had been betrayed or something.
No, not even betrayal. It's like, because I don't care.
Because like you don't care.
Because he said, because I don't care if you have it.
Oh,
wouldn't have mattered to me in the first place. So I just you got to tell me ages ago I wouldn't have cared. Mm. And I was like, I'm just upset, not angry. Just like, I wish you could have told me before. I don't give a shit. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Do you think that was a broader kind of societal shift, or was that just
was just
his?
It's just him.
Yeah.
Certainly back then in 2003, there was still this stigma, it's not much today. I'm grateful. I mean, the reality is HIV in this country doesn't progress to AIDS anymore.
Right.
It's 0 now.
Because of the medical advancements,
medical advancements, and that you can protect yourself against it.
Right.
So there's the law used to be you had to actually advise someone you slept with that you had HIV. You do not now, because someone can protect themselves from it.
Right.
It's like having a COVID vaccination now.
Yeah.
So that's how much the world has changed.
Mm-hmm. So you find yourself in Melbourne. How long were you in Melbourne? Was Darwin the next jumping off point, or was there somewhere in between?
Oh no, Darwin was the next point. When the first night at Footscray Park that I met Mark, Paul, he said, "Oh look, I'm not here for long. I'm going to move to Darwin." He'd come down from Townsville to see his dad. His dad wasn't well. I said, "Oh well, I'm never going there."
And what brought him?
He thought so. He's a full-time Bogan, and he speaks fluent Bogan.
Okay,
and this seemed to be like the zenith of Boganism in his head,
right?
About what a Bogan lifestyle would look like. Mm-hmm. So we came here. We started traveling a lot, and every year in May we'd get on the 2-for-1 Jetstar sales, and we would get about 5 or 6 trips throughout the year based on that, and heaps of chips. Went to Thailand, went to a few other places, then came to Darwin for the first time after going to Cairns. And we flew into Darwin and stayed here for 4 days, and we stayed at the Hilton. And we went, this place is, and it was in the wet season. Mm-hmm. So this place is cool. Don't know why we felt that, just felt cool.
Yep.
And then we came back on another holiday, Tiger Airways, thank you very much, $99. Mm. And we stayed at the Vibe. And we went to the wave pool and went to what was then Sunset All You Can Eat at the casino.
Yeah.
And we said, we should move here. So we went home. We both lost our jobs. And so moving wasn't an option at that point. And then Paul got a job at a place in East Arm and said, I just applied for a job. I got it. I'm going to go. You should come.
So did he do Bogan type work? Is that like was he sort of in, like a tradie type?
No, he pretends to be a Bogan, but...
What sort of work was he doing?
He was up here working on a rail construction job out East Arm, and he was administration. He was in finance in Melbourne, but he was Western Suburbs Melbourne. Like when I say speaks fluent Bogan, doesn't have a sense of the tenses. I've seen and I've done that.
Okay, yeah.
And that's it. And his parents spoke like that too, and they're pretty Aussie, which is lovely. And we had done diploma of management courses during the time we had off when we didn't have jobs, and that. We didn't know that tertiary education could get you more money.
Yeah.
A $50 Kudo deal. 3 months later, we got these certificates.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, valid. And we both got better jobs. I got a job at La Trobe University in Melbourne, and he was working on the motorway construction down in Geelong at the time, and then got the job up here in Darwin. And so I said, look, I want to see a year out at this. Then got another job, and I want to see a year out of this job. I will come. But also, no, that's not true. I wanted to get redundancy.
Right.
11-year time at this job. Anyway, they kept not giving me redundancy, and it was important to get it financially. The day that I received it, he'd moved back from Darwin in 2013. So we spent another year in Melbourne. We're in a rut. Melbourne is a rut. When you just live in that, that hamster wheel. And we'd been together by this stage 10 years. And then another job opportunity came up, and he said, well, I'm going this time if you don't come. That's it.
The ultimatum.
Yeah, and by this stage I had the job at Latrobe, and I moved 7 months later after getting the job at City of Darwin as the customer service manager.
Okay.
On 100K. I'm like, hell yeah.
Beauty.
Yeah, and he was not making much money. He's working for a plumbing company in Winnelly, but eventually became the director of a non-for-profit. Pretty when we started meeting people and getting networking, understanding networking works extremely well here. So that was the start of our life here in Darwin. It was amazing.
And how did things progress from there? Like, how did you sort of find life in Darwin? Was it, again, like, it's quite a bit different to Sydney and Melbourne, that's for sure. But what were your sort of first impressions of, when you were visiting here and then came to live here? Were they the same? Were they different? How did that all play out?
I want to say it's the same, but we also learned the tricks of the town. Firstly, the 2 degrees of separation.
Yes.
Sometimes it's 1.
Yep.
That for me as an art, I came here at the age of 40. As a week after my 40th birthday that I moved here, 2 weeks. And I had only known one form of entertainment, which was with my family. That's it. I'd never really done many gigs with other people. I'd never done theatre. I'd only done pub gigs with my family. I'd never really done emceeing, a couple of gigs, but not much. And 2 weeks after being here, we were living in Brinken and in this beautiful tropical home with 4 bedrooms, and how we got there. And one of my staff at City of Darwin, she said, oh, I heard you sing. I said, oh, yeah, I do. She said, because I was ready to give up entertainment. I don't know how to figure this out.
Like commercialize it sort of thing? Or
no, I didn't. I only known my family. I don't know how to work with musicians. I don't know how to get a gig. I just know how to be in a gig with my family. That's it. And I can't sing with other people. I'm not good enough. But then I do sing. And she said, oh, do you want to join a choir? I said, God, no. It was Darwin Chorale. And she said, oh, no, it's all right. Well, they're not really doing normal choir anyway. They're doing a musical. Now, that's music to a gay man's ears.
Right.
And who sings. So I said, oh, what musical? And she said, my favorite musical, which is Jesus Christ Superstar. And I went, hang on.
Maybe we can work something out.
And I went and auditioned with the only song I really knew from the musical, even though I love it. And it wasn't even going to be in their production, which is Could We Start Again, Please? And it's a duet between Simon Peter and Mary. Okay. And I said, they said, what are you going to sing? I said, I'm going to sing Could We Start Again, Please? He says, oh, which part are you going to do? I said, well, both.
Wow.
And they said, oh, do I just stand here when she's supposed to be singing?
Yeah.
Do nothing?
Yeah.
So I sung both, and I sang in different ranges too. So he said, why didn't you audition? So who do you want to audition for? I Sukamotri, whatever. I'd never auditioned for a musical in my life.
Yeah.
And they said, well, why didn't you apply for Jesus? I said, look at me. I look like a 99-year lease. Look at this. So they said, well, can you sing Gethsemane? I said, I know a little bit of it. I sang it. It was horrible. Can you sing any rock songs? I said, yeah, Jimmy Barnes. So I sang Working Class Man in his key and got the top G note. And he went, we'll call you. And they did the day after and said, you got the role of Jesus.
Right.
And I went, yeah, nah. Because those songs are hard. I knew the songs are hard. But the long story short, that's what, there are opportunities here I can't get in a big city.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what started to happen.
Right.
I then started working with orchestra, I started singing the national anthem at City of Darwin. They didn't pay me. Then I got commercials and went, oh, you can just do this stuff here?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you can the year after I directed a cabaret at the entertainment center, we sold 3 nights out. And I went, what the? So very quickly I learned that 2 things: put your hand up, say yes, give it a go. No one's really going to slaughter you. And network, and learn how to make that, what am I trying to say? Nice, real, not fake networking. It was fake at the beginning. I didn't know how to managed networking to mean something truthful.
Mm-hmm.
That takes some time to do. When you're really just running, I just want people.
Yeah, sure. Well, is that like sort of in a similar vein to, you know, faking it till you make it? Like everyone wants to put this outward projection on that they sort of belong here, or, you know, they've got the credentials to be here and you don't, or what? Like what's?
For me, I don't think so. For me, it was about now I meet people, and I truly, you know, I met,
Like want to get to know.
I met one of your team on the weekend, and I truly loved to meet that person and say, can we work together? It's nice to meet you. Whatever the case is, we will leave here with dignity, both of us. Back then, I was like, I need something.
Right.
I want to meet you because I want to be.
You can get something from me.
I want to know people. I want to be known for knowing people.
Right.
Now it's I want to know people, no matter what our paths may do if we use the Venn diagram with each other.
Yeah.
I just met a lovely person now. That opportunities come from it. That's a secondary part.
So it seems like one audition pretty much changed your life for the better in Darwin.
Yeah.
But
not only that, the job at City of Darwin, it was a high role. I was there for 3.5 years. I was working for a council. I'd never made that money before.
Yeah.
Latrobe I had, but that was the start after getting the diploma of management. And I realized I would just been festering away at low-paying jobs and this band thing that was beautiful, but like not really doing what I wanted to do. And could I do theatre? I didn't think I could. And suddenly I'm playing the lead role at the entertainment centre, singing these songs I've always wanted to, but told myself and was told that I could never do. So like when you get that permission and give yourself permission to do it, I said, well, what else can I do? And directing an ABBA cabaret. I directed Beatles and I don't like the Beatles. That's my pitch. I don't like the Beatles. This is what are you here for? I'm not biased to their to their music. Yeah, because I don't think.
What, are you just a Stones fan, or like what's the? Not them either.
I was like, no. I mean, this is the age difference. I was brought up at a time when Beatles songs were being covered.
Right.
Ticket to Ride by the Carpenters was the first time I'd heard that song. Johnny Farnham's Help was the first time I'd heard that song.
That live rendition of Help that John Farnham does, you can see why they call him the voice. Holy smokes.
It's so much so Tina Turner did a cover of his version.
Right.
But I didn't know who the Beatles were to the 90s.
You sort of had a bias to the covers as opposed to
Not
the Beatles?
Not a bias to the covers. I just had a bias to the songs. The songs themselves are beautiful. But their version sounded boring after I'd heard John Farnham and Tina Turner and I've Got Long and Winding Road by Billy Ocean. Yeah. All the covers and the Ticket to Ride by Gwen Guthrie. I'd never heard of the Beatles till the 90s. And I got the red and the blue double CDs and went, oh, these songs are beautiful. Oh, I know that song. We can work it out. Shaka Khan, it's the version I grew up with.
Yeah.
So when you hear the Beatles after, it's like going to, it's like going to San Diego, then going to San Francisco, then going to Las Vegas. Don't do it that way around.
Yeah, it's the wrong way around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did the good times last? Because I recently watched a news story that the ABC did on you, and it was pretty hard to watch, if I'm honest.
Really?
Yeah. Seems like, from an outsider looking in, and I guess, look, it was a story of redemption and, picking yourself back up. But obviously you went through some hard times and that was in Darwin. Yeah. You didn't go back to Melbourne and spiral or a bit of both. Okay. How did that all ensue?
Well, Paul and I have been together for 10 years when we moved here. We'd spent 17 and a half years together, and there was absolutely there was love. But if I put it in a nutshell, both of us were broken. The Asian-looking married with a Jewish name, Jehovah's Witness, is a horrible cocktail in the 1970s. You don't want to be that different. And when you're that different in that period of time, all you get is ostracization. Ostracism is the word. You get bullied. You get told you're not good enough, especially if you're from a culture that is 10% of the population of the country that you are from. And you are told, and you learn racism at 4, 3 from Mrs. McCluskey on the party line phone that the town has. You get told that the type of racism in the 70s was the really horrible one that you can deny, the subtle racism.
Right.
It
wasn't the overt.
Yeah, it's not. I'd rather have had the overt racism. You N-word.
You know where you
would have
stand,
been nicer.
At least, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I'm clear where you stand, and that's okay.
Yep.
But when Mrs. McCluskey says, "Oh well, Yous people always do that lovely little dance, don't you?
Right.
Actually, could you do it for me? Is what my dad was told. Come on, stand in the middle corner of the classroom and do that haka dance.
Yeah, like a minstrel.
Yes, but don't speak your language in class because we don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up in that period of time, and then realized at 2 that I was what would become gay.
Right.
I didn't want. I gravitated towards the girls. I like and all that sort of stuff. And gravitating toward the girls wasn't about being girly. It was about there was no other space because there was no gay.
Mm-hmm.
What was that? But the closest thing to that was being with the girls.
Yeah.
And when I was in Kapahaka as a 4-year-old, I wanted that all the girls are on the poi and they're doing these things and they have these lovely skirts. And I'm at the front with the boys going, do I really have to get down on my hands and knees and do that? I didn't want to do it. I'm on the front page of the Christchurch Press in 1979. I should have seen that picture. Just doing it wrong. I'm up here with the girls. The boys are all down doing the tough thing.
Yeah.
So I just knew. So that cocktail just made it very difficult to grow up with, and I just ignored it for a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
I went into religion and the HIV, and all these layers of stuff came to a head about 12 years into our relationship. And in reality, I'd been seeking validation from Paul, in some ways him of me. Also, there was some broken stuff there. I won't tell his story.
Yeah.
But when you are that different as a kid, I just wanted to be white. It seemed like the white people had not as many layers to unpack as I did. In fact, I wanted to be so white, I wanted to be ginger.
Well, I got a little bit in me and it's not.
There's nothing.
All it's cracked up to be. No.
There's nothing whiter than a ginger. The Jerry and Joey O'Donoghue were my best friends, and they were gingers. And they were, I don't want to be you. That's not to be horrible. That's just how I saw it.
Sure.
Because it seemed like, and in many respects, it was easier to be white in that country because the country was white, and they'd taken us over, and so we were just the shit kickers. So all of my life I felt that. Then everything else that made me different just made me, come on, when am I going to be okay? And so I thought if I couldn't be it, which I tried many times. I just straightened my hair to make it look like a white person's, maybe more Asian. Or if I couldn't be it, I'd have sex with it.
Okay.
As close as I could get.
Right.
So I met Paul, I met Mark, they're all white, blue-eyed, blonde-haired. I thought I met a Backstreet Boy. He looked like one. And then I thought, I'm fixed now. I'm good. I have succeeded. I'm the closest that I'll ever be to what I need to be, to not be the other person. And when that starts to deteriorate, once you've been together for so many years, and we to get like 17 and a half years is 119 gay years. It's a long time for any couple these days. The joke doesn't
absolutely
matter anymore.
Yep.
Any person on the planet.
Yes.
It started to unravel early on and it got worse and worse. And we came to Darwin where we were living seemingly successful lives, good jobs. I was starting to perform in different spaces, theatre, comedy. In reality, we weren't having sex and we weren't talking and we weren't, there was love. We weren't making love. We weren't generating love. Things were perfunct and I went and found it somewhere else. And alongside that, I had remembered that just before moving up to Darwin, someone introduced me to, because we lived separately for a period of time, Paul and myself, before I moved here, I thought before my 40th birthday, if we're living separately and having this seeming open relationship, I went and did as much as I could before I got here, including someone introducing me to ice, which was absolutely fun. It was amazing because when you first do it, it is goddamn amazing. And when you're with good people that know how to use it, it's so much fun. And then I stopped that, going to Darwin. I got a job at the city of Darwin, 0 tolerance to alcohol and drugs. Great way to give it up. Didn't have to tell Paul that I'd been there. I'm all good now. And
you were able to just drop it and...
Yes, in that moment.
Wow.
Because then all the exciting things in Darwin started happening.
Sure.
So I was just getting this lovely sort of, I don't need the drug anymore. I've got talent and I've got gigs and I've got City of Darwin. I'm friends with Katrina Fong Lim, the mayor. I thought I'd made it. And then about 3 or 4 years later, just our relationship started to just dwindle. And by that point, I didn't know how to, I probably knew what I should have done, which was like to be honest about it. how to do that, or knowing how to accept the risks of confronting that, because it's really, when you do that, you put everything on the line. I don't want to lose my partner because he validates me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to hide it. I'm going to hide it. But the loneliness I don't know how to deal with, so I'll just go back to the meth because that gives me love. So I'll juggle all of those, and I'll be able to put that there. I've always compartmentalized my life, so it'll be fine.
Yeah.
That's how I got back into the drugs, dropped it again, went to Adelaide, which was the ice capital of Australia in 2020 when I did my show down there, Purple Plastic Māori, and I got introduced to the needle.
So intravenous. So was it just smoking it before that? Or
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Which is gangster because I don't smoke.
Right.
You know, and you're there with a lighter and a Bic, choosing between a Bic and one of those torchy ones.
Yeah.
Or using a candle, you break the glass, you patch it up with duct tape, burn that. Because
Right.
I was talking about with someone on the weekend about, and we were able to joke about the nutty things you do in that environment. But we'll joke about it without judgment. And I think that's why I sort of talk about it very freely. I want to take the conversation, the judgment out of the conversation. But then I stopped the needle. Then the loneliness crept back in. And then I was using quite a lot, and then Paul kicked me out of the house. I moved into Nightcliff, and then I was at work. I was using regularly, almost daily sometimes, both smoking and needle. It's expensive here in Darwin. I spent $50,000 that year.
Were you functional as a user?
At the start.
Okay.
Until it stopped working. And then you have more, and then you have more because it isn't working. And then because you relate it to love and sex, and then that doesn't work, and it becomes this whole gambling addiction. And then I got to, I was New Year's Eve in 2022. I was staying at some really lovely people's house. They had been so generous to me. I had a great time, Boxing Day. And it was Boxing Day Eve. I shot up, and something was wrong. Anyway, that'd be fun. 2 days later, my arm was the size of a football.
So we got a photo there.
And eventually I went into hospital and had to have an abscess removed. If I'd gone a day later, I would have lost my arm.
Is that pre or post?
Post. So this is 10 or 12 days into me going there on New Year's Eve. I went in, the arm was the size of a football.
I mean, I can't imagine what it looked like pre.
I could have sent you many photos, but I thought this is one of the less gruesome ones of what it looked like.
Yeah.
So it took three surgeries, 8 days to drain the infection. It was just full of pus.
Yep.
From the infection. I thought they'd go in there and they'd punch a hole in it, suck it all out, and go home tomorrow.
Yep. 16
days. They then had to take a skin graft off my thigh, and which you can still see scars from there here, and cut that's the skin from my thigh to cover up the hole. That was the size of the hole, or the size of the circumference of an orange, and I could see the structures of my arm. So it was confronting, but at the same time, I was in this place of care for 16 days. Like I hadn't felt this safe in so long. And I was, there's moments where I cried and I didn't want to tell anyone. But then the 40 nurses, 20 doctors, and 7 plastic surgeons, and 3 meals a day. I'm in heaven.
Never had so much attention.
Absolutely. And they all great at what they do.
Yes. Yep.
And so when I got out, I looked at this, you look like Frankenstein. And the scar now is this, when I do my show, I have a third show called A Song for You, which I talk about the Matthews. And it's meant to be, and I sing 8 of Whitney Houston's songs from her last album before she carked it from a drug situation. And I talk about this very, very candidly. I show pictures, and I check with the audience before I show these pictures to make sure everybody's okay with it. Sure. There's also, I had the most trigger warnings of any show in Darwin Fringe Festival ever. Someone wrote to me and said, "You okay?" But I tell them, let's look at the scar, and I like the scar now. It's not a reminder. And it's just gangster. Yeah, I don't know. It's just how I'm okay with it. It's fine, and I like the scar, but it also looks like a vagina. I imagine.
Right, you wouldn't know.
I've seen pictures. Anyway, But that picture there reminds me of the love that was available to me
when you needed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I left the hospital, I went straight back to the gear.
I was going to say,
in your room by yourself,
Yep.
no one's loving you anymore.
mm-hmm.
And meth was love.
So, I mean, it sounds like it was a pivotal moment in your life, but it wasn't. Was it? You know, rock bottom. How? Like,
no, that's not rock bottom. Being in hospital, being cared for is not rock bottom.
Mm-hmm.
It was. I think. 2 weeks later, I was at the jetty trying to kill myself in Nightcliff. I got home. I used for another week with a friend. Ran out of money. Job. My work had caught up with me, and they were like, "We think we might want to fire you," which they eventually did.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working for the government, the Department of Infrastructure and Transport, and so everything was imploding. I had an Australia Day gig, the Oz Day Fun Run, and it was horrible. It's high as a kite.
Mm-hmm.
It was 4 years ago, and which I just hosted last week,
right,
for the fourth time.
Mm-hmm.
And I got so one night I went to a rehearsal for Evita. I was playing one of the leads. I was playing Che Guevara, and I was skinny as hell, like 79 kilos. And at most of my life, I've been 110. And I loved my weight loss, but I looked like a skeleton. I looked horrible, but I thought I looked great.
Yeah,
it was rings.
Yeah. You had a Zempic face before a Zempic.
Sorry,
you had a Zempic face before a Zempic. Is that sort of how?
Oh, thank you for that. I just, I was always been in my head overweight.
Right.
And weight is an issue in our family. Obesity is rampant in my family.
But Māoris are sort of known for having sort of bigger frames, right? Like,
not before white people came.
Is that right?
Read Captain Cook's journals.
What
didn't notice an ounce of obesity in our culture because you didn't have processed foods.
I'm not saying that they were obese, but like is their skeletal structure like, because
I think so, but I've met some really diminutive Maori.
Yep.
Like me.
Yep.
I'm 5'10". I'm not tall. My mother's 6 foot tall.
Right.
She passed away now. She's 6 foot tall.
6 foot.
Yeah. Size 10 feet. Men's. Yeah. See, so she was a disciplinarian in our family. She had it done and dusted. Dad said, "How are the kids?" They're good.
Sort of.
But I think in relation to I went to the rehearsal. I got the lead role, and I was high as a kite in the audition. To be fair, there was no one else. I was a Stephen Bradbury of the audition. Nobody else could do their role. I was just got lucky, really. And Nora Lewis, who was the music director, came up to me and said, "You know Nora?"
I do.
Yeah. She came up to me and she said, "She doesn't swear often, but when she does, it's profound." Can I swear in the show?
Absolutely.
She said, "What the fuck's going on in the music room and seeing you?" In a posh voice. And I said, "Oh, what's wrong with you? You can't sing." And I couldn't. I could not sing that night. I had no voice because it wrecks your body. And if you smoke, it dries your mouth out and you get ulcers, all sorts of stuff. But I looked hot. And everybody is 70 cast members. And the fill-in director said, "Well, come on, it's your turn now, Shalom, to show everybody why we chose you." They put so much, and I just, shit house, didn't even know the song. Left there, crashed my car into a bollard, busted the tire, then tried to use a jack to jack the tire up, broke the jack because it was uncoordinated. Dragged my car rim to the beach,
like metal,
and sat there for 3 days. Found some drugs. I found 10 mils of GHB that I'd brought back from Melbourne and drunk that, almost died. Came out of that really sick and then got myself to the jetty. It was stormy one night and I just went, can I squeeze my car through those bollards and get on there and I'll just drive off. I want to fuck that up because I'm that uncoordinated. I'm that much of a loser at the time that I've been down halfway down that crevice and that cliff. There are no tall cliffs in Darwin to drive off. That's the problem. And I've been like, damn it. That's where my mind was. And at that moment, Paul, we've been separated for about 1.5 years now. Paul messaged me, but I thought it was the Are You OK Foundation. It was him saying, "Are you okay?" I said, "No." And 20 minutes later, he was in the car. And I started my sobriety that night for that period of time. But I revisited the drug a number of times in the last 2 years, as recent as November last year.
Right.
And that was probably my rock bottom because that's the first time I got off the plane, went straight to a gig at the Last Supper and I bombed. And I do not bomb at gigs ever until that day. I saved it by being honest and saying, I'm so sorry. I invited you here and I look after my audience and I have not done that today. I'm only going to proceed if you allow me to treat the rest of the gig with love, but I'm not well. I didn't say that I was on the drugs. 2 weeks later, I did another gig at the same venue, the same gig, and I told I was high as a kite. I'll never do that again. That's my rock bottom. To treat my audience with disrespect and unkindness, that's rock bottom for me, because my audience is like, who is ever going to come and see this? And for me to do that to them, that's rock bottom. That I treat my life as a performer, as a customer service role. I look after people, to not look after them, make them feel unsafe, and to look at me and go, well, we love him, but I don't want to be here. That I saw myself, I was standing outside of myself in that moment going, what have you done? This is the worst. Just, I don't do that to people. I want everybody to like me. That's where I started, but I know how to make people safe. And to go into that gig and fuck it up so badly and have the staff scared because I was misbehaving. I knocked glasses of wine over. I was sweating profusely. I had GHB, ketamine, and ice on the whole week before getting on the plane. How I got here, I don't know. So that was a rock bottom. Yeah, I'm just gonna make the decision right now. That was rock bottom, just to do that to people.
Well, I first came across you, and I was introduced to you by a mutual friend of ours, Louise Morgan.
Yeah,
and I hope I'm not sort of digging into old wounds, but
she deserves this conversation.
She does. A beautiful soul, a singer, entertainer like yourself. I remember you guys doing duets together.
We did Evita together.
Yeah, right. There you go. And she committed suicide. I think it was at the end of 2023. Yeah. What sort of impact did that have as well? Because it sounds to me like it was at the same time that your world's kind of falling apart and things are crashing down around you.
She had come to me in 2022. I didn't really know her. She's in Darwin Corral. She goes, oh, can we sing together? And at this point in my life, I'm like, can you though? I was like, who do you think you are coming up? Turns out she's the most divine human being. And Joe, who's just, an East End boy, I don't, and then after the singing, galah, but I'll do it.
Just good actually. So, yeah.
He was a lovely man to me. And when I got to that audition, that rehearsal that night, I went to another rehearsal 2 weeks after I sort of got out of hospital. Got after I was sort of better. And I sung really well. And he asked Louise, how'd Shalom go tonight? And Louise said, it was really great. It was like beautiful to hear his voice back because I'm so happy. So I got to know her that year. But when I was in hospital, she was the first person to come and see me. And I should have sent this photo. He sent me a care. I never received a care pack in my life. It had a pen in it. And when you're in hospital and you need to fill out your meal form, you have to borrow a pen. Yep. I didn't have a pen. So that was the most important. A notebook, those things you wear over your eyes that white people do to go to sleep. A Mickey Mouse cup.
Yep.
Coffee bags, moisturizer, shampoo. Oh my God. I never had anyone do that. It was almost like visitors overtime. So just stay. So you stay for like 2 hours, sat on my bed. We just told stories like brother and sister. That's how our real friendship really blossomed. We then performed with each other. We did Evita. She was amazing in Evita. Yeah. She thought she wasn't going to be. She thought she wasn't good enough. I'm like, oh God, we're a peas in a pod. She said, but you're Shalom. I said, really? You don't know who I am. I then put her in. I was the director of Carols by Candlelight that year, and I had her singing Carols by Candlelight. And then I was also the director of Romeo and Juliet that year at the same time. So I put her in both. She rang me late November, was it? Whatever the time was, and said, "Oh look, I'm going to pull out of Romeo and Juliet. A lot of stresses at the time. This is the Monday." I said, "Oh look, that's up to you." But I'm also going to pull out of Carols by Candlelight. I said, "Oh, okay, all right." I accepted that. And 2 days later, she was dead. And I did not see any of that. I didn't even know she'd passed away. Her mother rang me from the UK. She said, Shalom. And I said, oh, hello, my darling. Listening to her mother, Eileen. I didn't. It was Saturday night here in Darwin, and I didn't even know a thing. She says, Louise has died. When it sounds like a joke, because it sounds so incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It took me heaps of adjustments to get around the fact that she said this 3 times.
Yeah.
I said, what? In my 2 things, she gave nothing away.
If I may,
anything.
And it might sound cliche, but you know, it's always the ones that you never expect, right? And that couldn't probably be more so the case with Louise.
You may, because it's exactly what I had done. People are like, you on meth, on the edge of the cliff. You, you're this guy. Yeah. Louise, I'd had dinner with her the week before, their mother on her balcony in their lovely suburban home, and she was so happy, and for reasons which are right for the family and her friends, I wasn't privy to much more than the knowledge that I was able to glean, and that's okay. I'm not that important that I should know more, and I'm happy to have known her at all. But her mother rang me many times because they're in England, going, I need more information. I said, look, as much as I love your daughter, I can't go to her husband and say her mother-in-law needs more information. They came for the funeral, obviously, and I caught up with her there. I sung at Louise's wedding. I was the band. So to lose her, it felt, I lost a dear friend, but it also felt incredible that this white girl, this white Irish girl would be a friend of mine. Yeah. And she loved me to bits. And for her to sit on my bed when I was in hospital at the time, I'd never known that type of white love before. When she died, I had cast her as Romeo's mother too, who dies. Right. Romeo and Juliet.
Yep.
In my version, she doesn't die, by the way. And I had to recast that role, which is, fine. That's the job, but I didn't want to recast it. I had cast Louise in the role of her because I had her singing a song, which was perfect for her, and only she could really handle that well, which is Kissing You from the movie. And she sings it over her dead son. And then when she died, I was like, well, this is fatefully serendipitous.
Yeah.
I had to recast the role with Joe Laverty, whose son was also in the play. So there was a lot. And I was depressed by the end of November. Then Tom Pauling died, who was my mentor.
Right.
And I currently live in his house.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I live with Tessa. Him dying was like, no.
Yeah.
In August of that year, Paul had moved from Darwin to Brisbane, and it broke me. We separated because I had an affair for a year with a 22-year-old, and I didn't tell this new person my real name. I told him my name is Dean. Like, look at me. And I lied because I didn't know how to be brave enough, or the skills that I needed to be able to go to Paul and say, we're not working and I'm broken. I just knew how to lie because that's what I'd done my whole life.
Yeah.
And so and then it all came out, and I was forced to tell the truth, and I'm grateful. I could still be living that dumb life of a lie. But it was painful for Paul, painful for me, painful for the other man. I was 22 and had adults in his life abuse him sexually, mentally, emotionally, financially, and this guy who thought, oh, I like this guy. He's a singer. His name's Dean. How he didn't know who Shalom Kaa was. It's phenomenal. I was in the paper one day and he was looking at me. Didn't realize it was me.
Oh, right.
My name's right there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I lied to him, I lied to Paul, and it all came out. And I'm grateful that in that year in 2022, it all came out. Paul and I separated. We lived together. It made sense to him. He also then came to me because everything that was wrong in our relationship from his perspective was mostly my fault. Came to me after
he found out everything and said, I'm to blame as well. I realized we were in trouble.
Mhm.
And he's not an intimate person, at least at the time.
Mhm.
And then that was a big issue for me, intimacy. Intimacy is validation. Intimacy is greater than sex.
Mhm.
And we weren't doing that. I'd come home into a little vestibule in our apartment in Warner and go, hi. And he'd barely look from his iPad and go, hi. The worst type of loneliness is the one you experience in your own home with someone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd cry a couple of tears and I'd just go to the kitchen, get the HelloFresh out and cook it.
Yeah.
For months, years, not knowing how do I start the conversation about the truth? And what do I do with the aftermath of it? I don't want to break up with him. I need him. I need someone. And he's the only one that's taken the risk for this long, and there's no one else. The other people just come and go, and they figure out I'm not good enough, and they'll piss off. This one stuck with me for 17 years. Maybe I'll just keep him, but I'll push him away at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So we were forced. But and we worked that out until I got back in the drugs again.
Yep.
When he left Darwin in August of 2022, I was staying at Tessa's place. And he stayed there the night with me before he drove to Brisbane. We went to just past the cool spot, looked over the water, and it was the last moment I was ever going to see him. In the same town. And then he went back to the house and he drove off in the wild truck he bought to get the $70,000 wild truck. And I got in the middle of Phillip Street and watched him go down the road. And he said these things. That's all he said. Didn't think I'd ever be leaving you here. It was his idea to come here. He drove off and I went, I howled like a dog for 3 days, just crying. Which I look at and say, that's beautiful that I even had that pain.
Mm-hmm.
That was love in a many messy way, but the pain of knowing that you're just going to have to do it by yourself now, and that he's not going to be there. He was not on the phone. He's in another state. This country's so big. But having him not just there, like he'd just been everything to me. Not everything, clearly. Mm-hmm. He's just the most things to me for 18, 20, this is now 20, a long time. And now we don't talk because I got in the gear again in September of 2024 and I went to Sydney to do 2 shows. Mm-hmm. And in the intervening week between the comedy show and the cabaret show, I said, I'm in Sydney and it's cheap. I'm just going to do it. And he came to see my final show in Oxford Street. Mm-hmm. And I was high as a kite. He was staying at my hotel with me in the same bed. I passed out. I woke up in the morning to no one in the room and a message saying, don't ever contact me again. And it was 2024. Mm-hmm. And I got back and I said to Mon and Brian at the Last Supper. And I also then got caught by the cops high on ice. That was a horrible moment. I got back to Mon and Brian and I told them I'm such a loser. Mon said to me, you know Mon and Brian?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mon said to me this year, are you alive, Shalom? I said, yep. Are you here with us? I said, yeah. Move on. I was like, really? Yeah, no judgment. They just got love.
Yep.
So I did. I just, I picked some pieces back up. I got into 2025 and I was still pretty depressed. Mm-hmm. So I need to get out of here. Mm-hmm. So I moved to Melbourne. I went to January. I went to Melbourne in January. I spoke to my dad in 2 years. He was not the nicest of humans after my mother died in 2023. She died not long after the hospital visit. So just after getting out of hospital, Paul's dad died. Mm-hmm. Then my mother died 2 weeks later. He was a moment of solidarity, really. And I don't lament my mother's passing. I don't feel melancholy very often, if at all. I had her for 47 years. She was amazing. Mm-hmm. God, 6 foot tall. She could sing. She's a darts player. Played upside down bass because no one told her how to restring a guitar. She was talented. She taught me how to cook white sauce at the age of 4. I was cooking dinner by 5. We looked after ourselves as babysitters until the cops came and told us we should have a babysitter. She was amazing. So yeah, when we went to some pretty horrible times, my dad and I didn't talk because my dad got horrible to me after Mum died.
So redemption arc, is there one? I saw from that ABC story that one day you just got up and ran, essentially. How did that help? Did it help?
Helped in the time. I had in moving to Melbourne. I was commuting between Melbourne and Darwin. I got a Darwin Festival show for the first time ever. It took me 10 years to get there. That was an amazing goal. And I then had my 50th birthday last year. Every single comedy show I did sold out. Solo show. I did a birthday show, did farewell shows. I never really went. And so I had, and I said, I'm going to start. And so without meth, because I got on meth last January, I lost 17 kilos in 3 weeks. Got back to Australia Day, high as I kite, did the Oz Day Fun Run hosting. Couldn't see a thing. And I lost all that weight and I was looking really good. I said, well, I better start exercising if I'm not using meth anymore. I'm not going to use meth. Stay true to the trajectory, get a Darwin Festival, and the show has to be everything. And so I did. And so I started exercising. I was living with people here in Darwin for, they were housing me and I was returning that kindness. Got to Darwin Festival, did a great show, crashed. Straight back on the gear. I went to Melbourne 3 times between August and November, 4 times. And each time I just gave myself the excuse to get back on it. And that's when I came back in November and did that really horrible gig. Just after that, Grace Utter from ABC called me and said, oh, Shalom, you don't know me, but I saw your posts in April about you running versus meth. And I went, yeah, cool. I'd like to do an article on you. Yes, please. That's the redemption.
So where are you at now? How are you tracking?
Really good.
Yeah.
I've never felt better. I live with Tessa Pauling. She's my mum now. Her other son is a King's Counsel and runs Barry, Duncan McConnell. Her biological son is a robotics company owner, and her daughter is a paramedic. And I couldn't be living in those beautiful tropical house in Fanny Bay. Her dog has become mine. If you look at my socials, Mr. Wookie is with me every single day we go running. I couldn't be in a better circumstance to be successful. And so then I decided to make more decisions to be successful, not financially, not career, just as a human. Just as someone who's you know what, if not for that trauma, I'd still be living that lie. Why not? I think Lauren Moss, whose podcast I did last week, she sent me K-pop Demons. What's that show? K-pop Demon Hunters.
Oh, righty, I've heard.
So I'm not clicking on that link. All right, Lauren. So I clicked on it, and the words of some in the song is like, "This is what it looks like to live life not telling a lie," and it feels good. It feels good to be able to be supported by Tessa. And then serendipity is my favorite word in the planet. Serendipity happens to every human on the planet, but you have to be in a position to receive it. I've seen serendipity when I've been high. And I go, I can't reach it. I can reach it when I'm in a really good place and I'm open to it. Yesterday I sat at a cafe, deliberately sat down to do some work, to do some gig stuff, admin invoices, and got 3 phone calls in an hour for gigs. I was like, oh, wow. When I'm not in a good position here, that doesn't happen. I see it, but I just don't have the strength to take it. I may fall again. It may be an excuse I'm giving myself, but that's how I feel.
Well, you're fallible like everyone.
Yeah, right. My thing is, I say, if life were linear, so recovery would be. Life is not linear. It's not meant to be. Something will kick me in the ass again, and I'll have to figure out whether I'll make a decision whether I just want to do what I did before and go into that hole, or I want to be Shalom Kaa. Being Shalom Kaa has always been the better option.
Well, I think that's a pretty amazing moment to close this loop.
Thank you.
As a sort of parting comment to people maybe going through some things, do you have any advice or Any pearls of wisdom for someone who's hit rock bottom, so to speak, and come through the other side?
I have an Instagram page called Make Every Day Count.
Okay.
That's also helped me this year. I do one thing a day now that makes my day valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Read a book, take the dog for a walk.
Well, look into that camera there and give yourself a bit of a promo for what you've got going on and your Instagram page. And I saw there's another show. There's a poster in the Air Raid Arcade here. Tell us all about what's going on.
A fireman saved my penis, which is last October. Come and see the show. It is funny as hell, but everything is true about that. But it also is related to my drug use. It's a full-on story. It's funny. RDH, thank you very much. And I've got 2 other comedy shows this year, separate comedy shows this year, so come along and see those. But Make Every Day Count 365, I just said, I don't do New Year's resolutions, but what I want to do is every day do one thing, which I'm doing. So every day I post a reel that is about one thing I did that day that made my day valuable. So that it's 1 hour I'm not doing meth. And it's one thing that I do to make that day say, I made that count because the amount of time I wasted. So Make Every Day Count 365 is the Instagram page. Please follow.
Awesome. Well, Shalom, appreciate your time, mate.
Thanks,
and, everyone, you're right. Everyone, just check out what Shalom's got going on. He's doing good things. Really appreciate your time, mate. I hope it wasn't too harrowing for you.
I cry far too much.
It's good. It's good content. But like and subscribe, guys. Helps us with the algorithm. We'll see you next time on the NextGen North podcast.